in 2015 with the intent to help brands clarify their identity and develop effective content and communication strategies. She's currently head of partnerships for Kumu, a social media app and tech startup in the Philippines with a focus on live stream content. She also runs a women's empowerment group called She Talks Asia that develops twice-a-year conferences, online content, and self-development workshops. Please give a round of applause for Miss Victoria Herrera.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. First off, thank you for that kind introduction. I'd also like to thank PR Asia for inviting me here. It's really exciting to be here and just to talk about what I love, which is building brands and how to communicate it to your target market. So, first time using a clicker, so please be patient with me. Alright, so today my topic is called It's Lit, and it's all about learning the language of today's consumers, Gen Z, and the digital natives. So we're going to learn a lot about how it is to work with the younger generation and how to talk to them. So, did that work? It's not working. Alright, so I'm just going to keep it simple for myself, so next slide please. Alright, so who am I? As mentioned, I'm Victoria Herrera. I started my company Next Theory in 2015 when I was still living in Hong Kong. Before that, I was working in traditional media. I was working as a model, TV host, radio host. I also worked as a writer, worked with a lot of publications. So really understanding the different areas and roles of how media works, from behind the scenes to also in front of the camera. So I was really able to understand how production is, how content is, and also how to deliver it. So when I started the group in Next Theory, I was already working for different clients in Hong Kong, Singapore, and Manila. I'm Filipino, I grew up here, by the way. So my decision to come back to the Philippines was very personal. I wanted to create brands and work with brands from the Philippines, and my intention was really to just be here and be with family and be with our culture again. It's pretty simple. When I moved back here, I was really, and still am passionate about topics such as life coaching and self-development. And I was also very passionate about working with women. So we decided, meaning me and my business partners, decided to also start a women's empowerment conference called She Talks Asia that we formally launched last year during Women's Month in 2017 of March, and did not foresee later on the huge wave of women empowerment that would happen later in the year with Me Too and Time's Up. And then this year we became louder in terms of talking about different topics such as body positivity and mental health. And last but not the least, because of all the work I was doing with She Talks, a startup found me. This startup is called Kumu. It's based in the Philippines. Well, now it is. The founders are Filipino from America. They moved here to set up their startup here. And their primary focus is creating a great environment and really promoting authentic live streaming, which I'll talk about in a bit. So moving on, next slide. That was a lot. Are you guys okay? Are you guys with me? Say yes? All right, cool. Okay, so here's some of the things I worked on. Philippine Fashion Week for one, in terms of design and communicating that. Hong Kong was a media site I did in Hong Kong focusing on culture. She Talks Asia also worked with a social enterprise called Banago, which is bags from Samar. Next slide, please. And what I also mentioned, Kumu is an app. So on the top left, that's Kumu. I also worked with yoga and wellness industries, talks, and fashion again. Okay, next slide. All right, so moving on to the actual gist of this conversation. So first off, does anybody here know what Gen Z is? Can I see hands? Are you familiar? I see one hand in the back. I see 2, 3, whoa. Okay, so they're still growing up, right? So Gen Z, according to everything on Google, are those born within the time period of 1995 to 2010. However, give or take 2 or 3 years in between, they can still have habits of millennial and whatever will come after Gen Z. So with this, there's so many different types of overwhelming information online, but to summarize, I'll just say it in the next slide. Next slide, please. All right, so as you guys know, there have been a lot of cultural and technological advances that have happened since the internet was born. So with this, there's next generation. So I'm 31, so I'm considered a millennial. And I remember growing up, I've seen everything from going to the hardbound encyclopedia to research, to discovering dial-up internet, to discovering social media, or blogging first, and then social media, I think around college, and then seeing how brands started to jump on social media. I remember my college professor walking in PR class and saying, hey kids, there's this new platform that just exists. It's called YouTube. I think you should check it out. It might be big one day. And clearly it is. So here's the thing. I grew up seeing transitions between that and then all this, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, everything happening, right? And seeing the shift in ages. However, Gen Z grew up with it. It's normal to them. They're also called the I generation. So I don't know if they know a world where you have to call someone and not see their face. Do you know what I mean? So they're probably they think what's normal is smartphones. Like that's normal to them. So another thing that's very common with Gen Z is that they don't hang out in the same places we are used to. So as mentioned growing up, we're always on TV, I'm on radio, I'm doing this. And then now you see a lot of them hooked to their phones, looking at online sites, social media, and apps. Another thing is that dialogue is now two-way. When brands put messages out there, you can actually get a reply. They'll literally reply, they'll comment, they'll tweet back, or they'll share it, but you can instantly see the feedback if they like it or not. Versus before, you'll send out a message and assume that certain messages were delivered and some kind of fell through the cracks. They also have high multitasking skills, clearly not one of my strengths. But with regards to their short attention span, they're able to, as a lot of people say, be online on, say, watch a Netflix show, be on Twitter, and work at the same time. So their attention spans are faster. Again, raised in an era of smartphones, but what I love that I've also noticed about the Gen Z generation is their passion for purpose. And what the speaker before me also said, this also ties in with creating more meaningful brands and more meaningful content. The Gen Z generation now is very, very vocal about causes, about the environment. They're very conscious. And what a lot of people like to say, which is Gen Z language, it's they're woke. Have you guys heard that before? Yes? Okay, I hear some yeses in the audience. All right, so moving on. How do we talk to them? So, next slide. Okay, so what I'm going to discuss today are some best practices that we've done, meaning me and my business partners, my company, throughout the year of 2018, just to make it more focused. And the two main case studies I'm going to talk about is what I mentioned in the introduction. One is She Talks Asia, and the other is Kumu, the live streaming app. All right, so next slide. So first off, the medium. Like, where do you talk to them, right? How do you reach them? So we leverage online platforms. It's very simple. I don't really veer far away from where they already dwell. If I find out that most of our engagement comes from Facebook, I'll spend more time on Facebook. If I see that they respond more on Twitter, I go to Twitter. They're on different channels. It's a multi-channel world online. So it's really about putting your content out there and seeing the feedback. But I do spend a lot of time in the digital world. So Gen Z have grown up in the internet. It's pretty much their home. They're so familiar with it. Social media, digital sites, apps are all natural to them. Putting your content online makes sense on how to reach them, and majority of our focus is always on digital releases. So with regards to She Talks Asia, it's a women's empowerment conference. We leverage putting all our content online using Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube and our website as tools to deliver our content on women empowerment. So this strategy was because of a few things. Next slide. Here's a visual representation so you could see what we've done. Number one, I was tasked to put up a conference within 2 months, and no one's even heard of our brand or even knew what women empowerment was about. And because I knew that these messages were so important, we decided to leverage Instagram, Facebook, Twitter to be able to at least get the message across. And there was half of me that I was also crossing my fingers saying, I hope it reaches someone, to be very honest. But it worked. That's the thing, it worked. Our messages spread like Wildfire, not Wildfire the restaurant, Wildfire. And I think what we were able to do was really utilize these platforms that people can reach for free. Like they were able to, like our users were able to see it because a friend shared it. We were able to put out messages on our own terms, on our own time, on our own frequency. So it gave us, as a brand, more independence to how often we wanted to put our content out there. We just scheduled it ourselves. So as you can see, we have an Instagram account, which we place a lot of our content on. And even though, for example, we've only had 4,000 followers, which some people think is very low, for me, what's more important is how engaged they are and how loyal they are to our brand, and in terms of really absorbing the messages we're looking for, which is the whole point of our conference as well, in terms of our KPIs. So we've also created our own videos, and we also put it on YouTube. Next slide, please. Also leveraging digital, we created a website, and on our website we put different stories of women. So a lot of people can really understand what different people are going through. Again, going back to the premise of what She Talks is, we wanted for women to be able to get their stories out there. We got our story out there as a brand, while also uplifting other women's stories. That was our full intention, and we leveraged social media and the digital space. All right, so that's She Talks. I'm gonna park that. I'm gonna move over to Kumu. Are you guys with me so far? Okay, I'm also checking the time to make sure I get everything in. So next slide. Because of all the videos and content we put out, Kumu found me. And then they said, we like what you did in terms of content and messaging, we want to bring that energy to our platform. So Kumu is a different story. Kumu is an app. They didn't really need to create content for platforms. They are the platform. They built their own house. So what makes it different is that first off, I'm just going to read this quickly. Our founders are very well versed in tech, and they essentially built a live stream platform for the Gen Z generation of the Philippines. It's a platform that prioritizes the voices of Filipinos both here and around the world. So it aims to be the one app that connects communities, connects content creators in the Filipino community. That was redundant, but you get what I mean. Okay, so what they did that was very different was that they created their own platform and they created their own environment. They created exactly how they want people to interact as well on their platform. All right, so one, the medium. What medium will you choose to be present on? So I'm going to park that and move to the next topic, which is crafting your message. Next slide. Okay, so the message. Next slide, please. So what I loved about the speaker that came before me was that he talked a lot about meaningful brands, a lot about inspiration, a lot about purpose, a lot about positivity. This is a key strategy that we brought to both platforms, She Talks Asia and Kumu, to be able to get a higher engagement and build a following. The reason why I say those things is because a lot of people focus on numbers, which is great to look at, but you also want to see how deeply engaged the audience is with your brand. Will they keep coming back to you? Are they loyal, or will they shift to something else the next day? And when I talk about building a tribe, it's because Kumu really built an environment and a community where people feel safe. So bringing the content of having positive messages, what we really focus on, it's not so much like it says in the slide, the language. So I know the topic is called It's Lit, right? And lit, if you Google it, it's slang for it's exciting, it's cool. When I was growing up, they'd say it's dope. When my mom was growing up, they probably said something else. So putting semantics aside, I really want us to focus on the energy, the intention, what we're really trying to say. And what I really want to drive in this talk is that if you anchor it on authenticity, on authentic stories, you have greater engagement. So to connect authentically means honesty, and honesty really connects faster to emotions because it's real. And the Gen Z generation, they're so woke, right? They're aware. They can see if you're telling the truth or if something's fabricated. They can question, they can research, they can reply to you and ask, wait, are you sure? They're more inclined to really also challenge your message. So in our case, for She Talks Asia, we want to talk about, say, women empowerment, body positivity, especially for this year. Next slide. So So our 2018 campaign was called the Body Love Revolution, or the Body Revolution campaign. So we wanted to promote essentially a conference, and to do this, we crafted a video series that was grounded on authenticity and talking about the different things women go through, the different uncomfortable things that we go through body shaming, through lack of self-love, through lack of self-worth. So it was a really groundbreaking year for us because we really decided to drive these messages using the digital space. So, sorry, a background on She Talks Asia. My business partners are also Isa Calzado, Bianca Gonzalez, Lynn Pinugu, who runs a nonprofit school, and Sarah Meyer, who used to be a former MTV DJ and Metro magazine editor. So a lot of us in the team are very aware of how media works and how to use it to our advantage. So this year we wanted to raise awareness for body positivity issues, not just women, also for men. And to do that, we created a series of different videos to be able to drive this message. So I'm going to pause right now and allow the tech guys to play the video we released on Feb 14.
I love my body.
I am grateful for my body.
Nagpapasalamat ako sa muscles ko. These arms, I am grateful for my scar, my thighs, my dark skin, my nose, my arms, my breasts, my stretch marks, my height.
I love my legs.
I love my hair.
I love my feet.
I love my height. I am grateful. So grateful. I am grateful for my big, beautiful eyes. They are me.
I am so grateful for my body.
I'm thankful for the body I was given.
My body is my home.
I am grateful for my body.
Mahal na mahal ko ang sarili ko.
I love
Myself, and I'm a woman. I love myself. I do that every morning. I love myself. I love myself.
I love myself.
I love myself. Please.
I love my body.
I love my body. I love
My body. I love my body.
I love my love my body. I'm learning to love my body, my imperfectly perfect body.
Diba? It makes you feel good, right? So it all started with the concept of, okay, what are we shameful about? What do people make us feel bad about? Oh, my arms, oh, my thighs, oh, my stomach. There's always something that when we go through that we feel we're not good enough. And we said, okay, so if we're gonna promote body positivity, we should start loving ourselves. So that was the message. We shot it. We used our previous social media messages. Remember I said that we started just posting the messages. It was inspirational quotes online. We used that to send to these influencers in our network. So we sent it to Solen, we sent it to Erwan, we sent it to Bea Alonso. All these people, we just told them about our message in a very genuine way. They saw it, they loved it, they agreed to be part of our video, and they agreed to share it. Not through any means of force, but because they genuinely loved it. And because of that, when the video came out, it reached virality. Again, not original intention, we just wanted to share something we loved and to make people feel good. So next slide, please. These were our results. Okay, so we wanted to raise awareness on self-love despite imperfections. We uncovered pain points that connected us as human beings. We openly brought out topics that carried shame, that you don't like to discuss out loud, but it's real, it's authentic, it's honest. We decided to really stay there and talk about it. And we found ways to discuss it in the spirit of self-acceptance. And this is all the topics we talk about in our conference. So the great news was that we reached 2 million total view count. This isn't just our speakers posting, but even the younger celebrities in the industries. Celebrities like Liza Soberano, we have, we have a lot of celebrities that also reposted because it was something they were going through. We also had a lot of members of the She Talks tribe reposted as well. I never asked anyone or forced them to post it because they genuinely loved it and they could connect to your content. They just wanted to share the message. We had 4.5 thousand total post engagement, and we sold out on both conferences this year, one in March and one in September, before doors opened. And so, yes, that's to say the very least. Okay, so moving on to the next slide. And bringing the concept of authenticity to live streaming, it's the same thing. We really just wanted people to be themselves. So for Kumu, I also brought that energy. I said, I don't want to build and manufacture live streamers to be something they're not. I really want to dive deep into who they are and what they believe in. So when we work with live streamers, or we basically create environments, it's for people to really be themselves. So with Kumu, we were faced with a challenge of really promoting quality, authentic live streaming in this app. With people, and seeing how people currently behave on social media, there's a lot of things you can fake. You can get robots, you can edit your photo, you can Photoshop everything, you can organize your grid. I know these tips and tricks. I've been in the industry for 15 years. So images are built, influencers can be manufactured. Not all influencers, however, can relate to your brand or truly vouch for you. I've worked in branding. I've hired influencers to promote the brand. The next day, they're promoting a competitor. The day after that, you don't really know. So I find the world a little bit, it's shifting a lot. So what I loved about live streaming was that when people get to turn on the camera, they're really creating a conversation that can hopefully last longer than a 15-second IG story. So it's harder to fake your personality and fake who you are on live streaming, so we're trying to encourage more authentic behavior by allowing people to really discuss what they love and what they're passionate about. So we noticed, because we were promoting this, and I started in May, the app has been around for about a year. We're not yet officially launched, but we're in beta, but we're seeing a lot of key results that we feel a lot of brands can also learn from. So we noticed that we started to attract a whole new generation of content creators. I'm not saying completely let go of Instagram and Facebook and those types of influencers. What I'm saying is also keep in mind that a new wave is also coming and it's also building. So with this, the new generation of content creators were focused on telling their stories, they were teaching, and they were truly engaging with their viewers. Next slide, please. So our tagline is, turn on the camera, be yourself, make money. And because of that, through the tech components of the app, there's ways wherein the viewer, if they truly like your content, can give you a tip. They can buy virtual gifts on the app, and then you as a content creator can receive it and then cash it out. I wrote it down here. It's through LBC, PayPal, and bank transfer, just in case I forgot. So those are some of the things we're doing. We're trying to encourage authentic content creation, authentic live streaming, and really bringing out the personalities of the whole new generation of Filipinos. Next slide, please. So our stories and the results. This is what we've uncovered throughout the past 5-6 months of me working with them. We opened up new conversations of conversation. They don't always like what's being told out there, the shows or what they see. Sometimes you'll see what a good conversation is by what they naturally like to talk about. So we started to identify and see new topics that are growing, that we couldn't even see on our radar, but what was important to Gen Z. With regards to our app, around 81% of our market is millennial and younger. So you really see what's brewing. We'd see everything from OFWs telling their stories of how it is to live overseas. We've seen life coaches helping other people through depression. We've seen other people open up about their mental health and creating support systems. We have user-generated content on singing, cooking, dancing. At this rate, we currently have over 500 live streams per day. We're growing at over, I think, about 200% daily. We're introducing a new type of economy through virtual tipping and the creation of a new wave of influencers. Next slide, please. Okay, so the stories and the results. So from May up until last night when I was checking the stats, we've grown to about 70,000 app downloads in 6 months. So at this stage, honestly, 71,000 because I checked it this morning. We've collaborated with brands and food chains such as Fatburger, Tout le Jour, food delivery app, The Delivery Guy, and most recently shopping website Lazada for their 11/11 sale. So what we realized was they really like to see people talking about their brand in an authentic way and really experiencing things in real time. Because with video, certain things could be edited, but through the authenticity of live streaming, you know what I mean? Like they were more honest about their feedback, and the brands enjoyed that and quite frankly liked it. Another thing we did was a collaboration with Star Cinema, wherein we got the actors from Tress, which is Brian Revilla and his brother Luigi. We had them guest on our game show, and they were able to interact with their audience And we garnered over about 10,000 comments for that one specific episode. So it's really blurring the lines as well between social media and what TV programming can do. And, oh yeah, new types of sponsorships. Okay, next slide, please. Last but not the least, for the talk and the 5 minutes that I have left, I'd like to really ground this talk on the sense of building culture and community. This is so important right now to the Gen Z generation. Next slide. So, build your tribe, find your tribe, love them hard, right? I mean, if you're on Instagram or Pinterest, you most likely see quotes like this come up. And this is something we really believed in and we really wanted to ground offline as well. Not just create spaces online, but bring it to the real world. Because the Gen Z generation, they grew up online, they grew up with smartphones. What we're trying to do now is make them meet each other in person. So while we're focused on building our great online numbers, we spent a lot of our time also connecting and having conversations with people who showed up. So in our conference, a lot of the people who showed up to ask questions, they were between, say, 18 to 21, truly engaged and asking questions about mental health, not knowing what to do, very honest, very sincere, very genuine. We kept those conversations alive because we wanted to be there for them. We took our offline conversations online and vice versa. It's a dialogue that's continually happening. And yes, we create offline experiences for connection. What I was saying earlier when I just got here was that the next generation is highly connected online, but are they connecting to people in person? When I talk to a lot of people from the Gen Z generation, whether it be my intern or a project manager, the key word that keeps coming up is the word support systems. It's so important for them to feel. They can know everything on the internet, but they don't feel supported in real life. And that's a bridge we were trying to, that's the gap we were trying to bridge. Next slide. With regards to communities, we have user-generated communities popping up over interests. People who love music, people who love dance. Tribe members looking for each other so they don't feel alone in this world. We feel happy that this app was able to bring a lot of people together as well to collaborate. So next slide. Some key insights I want to leave you guys with, and that we've also learned in building 2018 brands here. Our number one concern for both brands, both She Talks Asia and Kumu, it's how people feel after they experience our media or our communities. How do you feel? Do they like it? Do they feel good about themselves? Or do they walk away feeling not good enough, isolated? You know what I mean? It's really about seeing how they feel and experience your content. Not just, for me, numbers are important, but I really care if they feel better after experiencing the brand. So like I said, while hits and numbers are important to us, our key driving value is creating a positive experience emotionally for our audience. We are attracting and continually to attract Gen Z through the type of content we are creating and reaching them where they naturally dwell. What was showing up for us on both platforms was the immense need for topics on mental health, wellness, finding like-minded individuals, or like I said, support systems. There's also a great factor there where they just want to have fun and talk to people, and a sense of community, joy, and it's also very rooted to our culture as well here in the Philippines. Our warm, loving culture. So our discovery was that although Gen Z is highly connected to information, there's still need for a connection in real life. The concept of finding a tribe, feeling included, was highly valued. Next slide, please. So focus on culture. So brand managers, PR heads, what I'd like to say is that we always think about long-term as well. So we like to think about the long-term impact of our brand or of our communication message. It's not necessarily saying, how can we reach our KPI for this quarter? How many shares is this? How many likes will this get? We understand that is of importance, but we also understand the long-term goal of what we want our brand to accomplish, and we know that some things take time. So maybe for me, if one video doesn't reach this amount of numbers, I know that in a series of consistent videos, we'll be able to drive our brand values. So what we like to ask ourselves is, how do we want the landscape to look in the next 10 years? Because right now, I'm hearing a lot of things about mental health, and that makes me sad. What I want to see now in the next 10 years is more topics on wellness, happiness, and positivity. So that's the key goal. Where do you want to see the Philippines in 10 years? Where do you want to see Gen Z when they reach 30? Do you know what I mean? I'm sorry, I'm not clear. So that's the type of shift that we're we're making with regards to our strategies, our business plans, our communication plans. We're thinking of the long-term goal of how it will shift the market and how it will raise a generation. Because your content will be raising the next generation. This is what they will be exposed to. This is what will be in their minds. So again, we think from what do we want Gen Z to learn, and then we act from that point of view. So what my business partner, Isa Calzado, said in her speech during our women's conference, she's about to get married. She doesn't want her daughter or her son to go through the same body positivity issues she got when she was absorbing from society or being in the industry or advertising. What we want to do is see the next generation grow up with new messages in their minds. Next slide. So again, tribes and communities. Building your loyal tribe, not just there for the free stuff or just the likes or the attention, really building a loyal tribe, having an emotional connection and a sense of belonging. And last, we make sure the space is safe, the platform is positive, and in return, what we noticed was that those involved in the space would protect it. If a negative comment came up, our own tribe members would come in and protect us. They would defend us. If anything foul or derogatory came up in Kumu, our own tribe members, because they love being in the space so much, they protect it. They defend what they love. And it's really about creating beautiful messages and really great safe environments for the Generation Z, because this is the world they're going to grow up in. So that's the end of my talk. Thank you very much.
All right, Victoria, we have a couple of questions for you.
Yeah, sure.
All right.
Right here.
Okay, let's flash those on screen, please. Hi, Victoria. What brand has caught your attention recently because of its authenticity? In your opinion, what made it truly authentic? And how has its authenticity helped push their message successfully?
That's such a hard question. Choosing your favorite. It's like choosing a favorite child. What brand has caught your attention recently because of its authenticity? Wow, guys, that's a really, really hard question, and it's hard to think of at the top of my head, but oh my gosh. You're gonna laugh. I love Oprah. So I feel like today's world, when social media started, a lot of people were putting their best foot forward, their best image, their best selfie, which is great. But what also happened over time, from when I started being on social media at 18 to now 31, it really did make me think that you had to be a certain way, you had to be perfect, or you had to have your life together. I mean, everyone's human and we all go through things. And I think the reason why I absorbed content that Oprah was doing, or just a lot of podcasts nowadays I love. There's a podcast by Lewis Howes. So when I say brand, a person can also be a brand, right? I really like the content because it doesn't portray people as this god that they have everything figured out. What I like about authenticity is really saying about what they struggled with, what they're working on, and how to move forward, because I feel like that type of content helps me as a human being. And because I love their content and I love their messages, I immediately purchase whatever they're selling because I believe in them. I believe in what they stand for. And so yes, and how has its authenticity helped push their message successfully? Their brand is really about the brand values and how to live the brand, how to live the values. And these people live it, or they talk to other people and interview other people who really live and rep their brand. So I could be listening to somebody and suddenly I want to buy like a protein powder. Why? Because I really like the interview and I feel a sense of connection to that person. And this is the hard thing. Our egos always like to look good. Authenticity for me was really learning about how to take that need to look good out and really focus on what makes you vulnerable as a human being. And then it shifted. I'd always support that person. They could sell protein shakes or paper clips. I'd support that person no matter what. It became more about that than the product for me. Thank you.
Well said, Victoria. Let's see the next one. How does a platform who doesn't have full control with the content manage potential crises?
That's a great question, and that's something we're also learning in Kumu, specifically because it's a platform, right? And live streaming can be shady. Come on, like, let's be real, right? So what we're doing as well is we have internally as a brand, we have a very strict police system. So I was on a live stream. I hosted a game show for Kumu 2 Sundays ago, and there were people coming in saying not very women empowering comments, and it was actually very degrading and uncomfortable as a host to see it. And immediately, what the founder did, he came into the live stream and he called out all those comments and he said, "You're now officially banned." So we do a lot of monitoring. So I think it's how the brand also decides to police and monitor their content in the sense of it being unsafe. There are cases in She Talks Asia, I'm going to shift hats, wherein there's some messages that women didn't agree with. They're like, no, we don't agree with this or we don't agree with that. And for us, when these situations come up, we allow both parties to speak because our goal was to create conversation and dialogue and more awareness. What we don't want is attacking another person and saying your opinion's wrong. We're saying, okay, let's understand this more, let's dive deeper. So with Kumu, what we're trying to do with regards to, for example, protecting women from harassment, we have a strict police force. I'm in it, I can see everything happening. Our people in our team were former Navy SEALs in the States. That's a true story for our Filipino. So they do understand how protection works and how to bring that to the technological space. And then for She Talks Asia, if there's uncomfortable conversations, we don't really get harassment, but it's more of women attacking other women, which could happen. But it's really about, okay, pause, let's sit down first, let's talk about this. And we bring that environment also on stage. So when we've had panel discussions and women are arguing, we make it more about, tell us your point of view, but don't attack the other person in the process. But allow it to show up and be discussed, like a conversation. I hope that answered your question.
That was good, Victoria, that was good. All right, let's see the next one.
All right, brands always...
Brands will always ask for ROIs or KPIs. How can we justify investment if it's not just about numbers? Or how can we present qualitative analysis better?
So that's also a very tricky question because I've had clients that was focused only on KPIs, and I've also had clients that were patient and they allowed their brand to grow. So it's really a discussion between you and the client or brand manager at this stage. So some things I can't control. If the client decides that they only want these numbers and they disregard value and quality, it's a conversation you're going to have to do with changing your strategy. However, if you're working with a client that does understand the long-term growth, then they're more patient and they understand the investment. So for me, it's a conversation with my client and what they want to do and how they want to grow. I always bring it back to conversation. So for example, I had a client once that was really, really focused on numbers. And to the point where she said, can we just buy robots and we look it? And I said, but you're not, if you tell me your goal is to build your tribe and you rush and cheat the process, how will you build your tribe if you're just posting all these random things? Your tribe will know that you're fake because the people really in it are really in it. So for example, if it's, I'm just gonna say like a swimwear brand, they're like, we should see, more specific, a surf brand for surfers. They're like, okay, we're gonna seed it to all these fashion people in Manila, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm like, but they don't even go to the beach. Like they're literally gonna wear it in their house, take a picture, post it online. But the real surfers, you know where they are. They're in La Union, they're in Siargao, you know where your tribe is. So that's also another thing that I tell brands. You have to know who your real influencers are, not just those who are popular online. You can get the numbers that'll look great, but if your true intention, and I always go back to intention, is to build your culture, it's really about sifting through all the clutter, sifting through a lot of things, doing your research, understanding your influencer. What came up in a podcast is if you have to say, who are the influencers nowadays, you also have to see, are they the influencers for your company or for your market? Are they relevant to the people you're even talking about? Because I see some people posting random stuff, and I'm like, what is this? What's going on? Am I clear? It's more of that, of really not just accepting, okay, they're an influencer, I'll agree, but really saying, I don't know, are they relevant to my brand? Do they understand what my brand's intentions are? Because I think over time, your KPIs will show up. If that makes sense. Over time, if the brand is just driven by KPIs, I think that's a sign for you to have a conversation with them or to really see what their long-term objectives are. Because when you build a sustainable culture or a sustainable strategy, the KPIs just happen.
It will follow. Victoria, thank you so much. We have a lot of questions. Thank you so much for all those questions that I guess please you can approach Victoria within the day if she's still available. But thank you for all those questions. Everybody, let's give a round of applause for Victoria Herrera.